the morning, heart of South Philly. Let's go see what the people have got to say. I'm ready to roll the
Now listen here, Dutch. The Mets and the Cowboys, they suck.
1, 2, 3, go Birds! Go Birds! Here we go, 3, 2, Birds, Steaks. Go Birds!
Get your water ice and soft pretzels ready because you are now tuned into a 302 Birds podcast experience. Proudly presented by TickPick, Nick's Pizza, El Diablo Burritos, and Klondike Kate's on the heart of Main Street. Let's take it to the show.
What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to this week's edition of the Philly Sports Pulse. Alongside my good friend Adam Den, I am Jesse Sharon. Glad to have you with us tonight. Busy week in Philadelphia sports. The Phillies, opening day is a week away. Howie Roseman
there
is making move after move after move. Mostly death moves, but we'll get into that. And people are still mad about Jared McCain. So there's a lot to cover. Adam, where do we start?
We can start wherever, Jesse. It's an exciting time to be in this city. We got March Madness rolling, right? They're in Philly tonight. They'll be in Philly tomorrow. This is one of my favorite times of the year to just be a sports fan in general. So excited to dive into it.
It absolutely is. We'll say I am in a bracket. Got my bracket for that you sent over. First time I've ever done that.
Really?
And I somehow nailed the high point pick.
Gotta give him props. Give the boy some props.
Yeah, man. I boys got some motion. But speaking of motion, Howie Roseman, we'll go there. The biggest move, I would say, over the last week, that's got to be Hollywood Brown. That, to me, is your wide receiver 3. And honestly, I think that he has a higher potential over your last wide receiver 3, who just got a $10 million deal, who I've said all along could be a wide receiver 1 on a bad team. I like Hollywood Brown's game, not just because he's quick, but I was looking through some of his highlights here. He is fast in the mid to short range passing game as well. Now, he's got Patrick Mahomes, or he's had Patrick Mahomes as his quarterback, so that helps a ton. But I will say, I really like the Hollywood Brown pickup. Adam, what do you think about this move?
Yeah, Jess. I mean, it's certainly fine for a wide receiver 3, and I think definitely an upgrade over the previous iteration of the Philadelphia Eagles. And Jahan Dotson is a guy who I mean, the numbers will tell you was one of, if not the worst wide receiver in the NFL a season ago. So to upgrade over that in any capacity, I think is fine. And Hollywood Brown is exactly that. He is average about just about everything. He has average speed. He is a little bit on the undersized, but he operates primarily out of the slot, so he'll fit in just fine there. He is an average route runner. He is an average separator, and can make plays in the open field at just about an average rate. So I think when you look at that and you compare it to what you had before, it's something that is certainly an upgrade and certainly an additional weapon for this Philadelphia Eagles offense. I expect his usage rate to probably be around what Jahan Dotson's was, just because, I mean, they aren't there's still a massive difference in the talent of players between the Eagles' top skill position players and the rest of that roster. But it's certainly an intriguing move and one that I think in the case of an A.J. Brown trade, it is definitely helpful just to bring another guy into your room as well. I think you would probably need a better wide receiver 2 than him. If he's your wide receiver 2, that's probably an issue, but it's an average 3, and I think that's fine.
Well, I think at the same time, when you have elite quarterback play, now you need a good offensive line behind that, I feel like. And the Eagles certainly did not have that last season. But I feel like when you have elite quarterback play, like you did in Patrick Mahomes with Hollywood Brown.
Thought you were going in a different direction there.
No. But, like Jalen Hurts too. When you have elite quarterback play, listen, Jalen Hurts, people are I hope people are not forgetting, but some people are tending to forget, I feel like, that this guy just about a year ago was a Super Bowl MVP. Yes, he was on a roster. I get that. The whole thing with people saying, "Oh, Jalen Hurts is, he's getting carried." Yeah, I understand that because Howie Roseman's the GOAT. But okay, that aside, I feel like with a elite quarterback, you can get your entire offense flowing with Hollywood Brown. And honestly, if Devontae Smith or AJ are missing some games, and unfortunately, I have seemed to notice they're not often, but Devontae Smith, just I think because of his size, has missed a game or two here or there. And I think Hollywood Brown, when he needs to be, I think it could be a serviceable wide receiver too, especially in a much better overall offensive unit than the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, I mean, I think I counter that in the sense that, yes, the Philadelphia Eagles from an offensive line perspective, maybe 2 seasons ago, were an upgrade. But I think what the Philadelphia Eagles offensive line looked like a year ago, especially in pass protection, and I mean, with the difference in quarterback play between the two teams, I would argue there's a lot more instability as far as the Philadelphia Eagles offense, the Kansas City Chiefs offense, and that shows in the numbers, right? This Kansas City Chiefs offense is a top 10 offense in EPA per play a year ago. This Eagles offense is a bottom 10 one. I mean, I think that kind of plays itself out in that way. And I don't get me wrong. I think I'm on the Hollywood train as a 3. I get what you're saying. Like, I think, he's a rotational player that if a guy were to miss a game, like, sure, maybe you get like an 80-yard game somewhere far and in between. But I think Kansas City's reliance on Hollywood to be a 1 or a 2 was a huge part of their struggles at the receiver position this season, right? Because, this is a player that you're trying to scheme up touches to in the screen game and the short passing game who doesn't quite have the same explosiveness or burst that he did maybe, a couple years ago in Baltimore. And that was one of the least explosive offenses in the NFL for a reason. So I think, what you ask of him is probably just similar to what you asked of Dotson, right? He's somewhat of a vertical threat still, even at this age in his career. He is a good run blocker. I think you can give him credit for that. And just slots in well physically next to the 2 guys who are next to him. But I think the worry, right, is the A.J. Brown trade. And would he be placed in the role of the two? And that's when I start to scratch my head and be like, Howie, could we chase down a Jawan Jennings in this scenario? Could we have tried to think about I'm trying to think who's still out there. Just somebody who's
Well, not offensively. Buda Baker.
Oh, well, I was thinking at the receiver position.
Okay.
But yeah, I think just
there.
a more versatile weapon. But yeah, I would be against Buda Baker. I hope he doesn't trade for Buda Baker. I don't know. Really? Did you watch a lot of Buda Baker last year?
I did, and wasn't entirely impressed.
Yeah,
but it's sort of the same deal that I have with this Dameon Pierce signing. It's
a good pivot. That's a good host pivot.
Let's hit Dameon Pierce.
You're getting good at these.
Listen, man, 14 episodes in.
Yeah.
But Dameon Pierce. Let's hit him first.
Mm-hmm.
The same sort of thing with Buda Baker kind of applies to Dameon Pierce. Dameon Pierce, a few years ago, his rookie year, had about 920, 930 yards. These past couple of years, there's been a little bit of a decline, and he's been put on a practice roster. Now, people are nervous that this guy could replace Tank Bigsby. I think if he did, that would be an asinine move. That would be horrible, and I don't know. I just think that would be the stupidest move of all time. Because Tank Bigsby, we've seen in limited carries because Saquon Barkley exists, is a versatile running back. He can cut. He can, catch short-range passes. We've seen he is a perfect not wide receiver too, perfect running back too. And I don't know what you do because Dameon Pierce has not had a good couple of years, but if he has a good summer, has a good preseason, over Tank, maybe the argument could be made that Dameon Pierce at the end of the day becomes your running back too at some point in the year.
Yeah, I mean, I think I can promise you that he won't be. At
any point?
Yeah, I think I can promise you that. With the amount they invested in Tank Bigsby, I don't think that's an option. I think to me, and seemingly reportedly to the organization, what this signals is more just like a Will Shipley replacement, right? Potentially. And that's a guy who's had his ups and downs throughout not just camp, but the entirety of his career. He dealt with injuries a season ago, and when he came back, he wasn't necessarily a very efficient back. And they brought in A.J. Dillon a year ago for that same reason. I can tell you that Dameon Pierce is a awful NFL running back, or has been over the past 2 years. He lacks the physical tools that he did his rookie season. I think injuries have started to catch up to him. There's a lack of burst. There's a lack of explosiveness there. He does not catch passes, and that's something that the Eagles usually prioritize in their backup backs, right? Their ability to be on the field on third down, contribute where Saquon Barkley is not necessarily able to. And so, I mean, to be honest, I would be a little surprised if he even made the roster in August, but why not bring in competition for Will Shipley? It's it's not like he's proved anything substantial over these past couple of years besides a touchdown in the NFC Championship game. So, it's just a smart lateral move there.
Now, I feel like we have to touch the A.J. Brown thing again. I really hate it. I do.
We got to do it every week, my friend.
It dragged on. So this is my problem. It has dragged on so much to this point. And now they're like,
oh, we're going to be doing podcasts through June, right?
Dude, seriously, June 1st. People have been talking about if that's when that's when you trade him, June 1st. I don't want to be talking about AJ Brown till June 1st.
You know what
Come
you should
on.
do? You know what you should do on the Instagram? We should have a countdown to June 1st. I think that's a good.
Oh my God!
You want to write that
great.
down? I think that's my my Instagram pitch for the night.
Absolutely. You know what? I like that. I like that a lot. Yeah. This is gonna be a long off season, Adam. There's still not much going on there, but I wonder the Patriots. They're pretty much in the mix. Have been mentioned in regards to AJ Brown. It feels like every single day. It's stupid. It's ridiculous. But now with Romeo Dobbs, I don't know. Does that mean that raises the price for AJ Brown? I don't know. I'm tired of it, Adam. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, well, I can tell you that Romeo Doubs does not raise the price for AJ Brown, but I'll tell you what does is Jalen Waddle, and that was one of the biggest moves that's come this entire offseason. He basically is dealt for what was the AJ Brown asking price, right? A first and a third, and AJ Brown has proven a lot more than Jalen Waddle has over the past couple of years. He is, a top 5, arguably wide receiver when he is fully healthy and engaged, and that's something
that's we're gonna have a talk.
I see that. Yep.
Damn, that's brutal.
Yeah,
but accurate.
We're not taking that. You can't take that, Jess. You got to fire back there.
Yeah, no.
Dennis is wearing a hat to hide his hairline. That's what it is. Yeah, I think, that raises the price for AJ Brown in a sense because it's a guy who has largely been healthy throughout the entirety of his career, is still young, still consistent, and has an extra year on his deal besides AJ. So I think, given that a first and a second is likely going to be the price for New England, and if I'm looking at it from a Patriots side, I'm rather hesitant to pay that, even for a receiver of the talent of Brown, simply because it's a high asking price for a team that's looking to strive for contention. So we'll find out a lot as the two stand off over the next couple of weeks, but it's certainly good news for the Eagles.
Now, I don't know if you've ever heard of this dude, and I'll address that comment in a second. Have you ever heard of this guy, Ricky Scoops?
Yes.
Okay. Because this tweet came out this morning, and I don't know I don't know whether to trust this guy. Some people say he's reliable, and then he puts out stuff like he did this morning, and then instantly deletes it. He said that AJ Brown was traded to the Patriots, and Howie Roseman essentially lost in the deal. He was trying to get, a pick for this round's draft. I'll put it to you this way. I'm going to elect to not give this guy any credit. If he hits something, sure.
Ricky hits sometimes though.
He hits. You think he hits?
Yeah, sometimes.
Oh, well, he put out this thing that the Eagles got their butts kicked by the Pats, and they didn't get a draft pick in this year's draft. Do you think it is a failure on the Eagles organization if they don't get a pick for this year's draft in return for AJ Brown, a first round pick in this round's draft?
No, simply because I think the best case scenario for the Philadelphia Eagles in this situation is simply that AJ Brown is on the team a couple months from now. I think everybody's kind of in agreement with that. It's a $40 million dead cap hit before post June 1st, right? But actually after June 1st, it is still a $20 million cap hit. So this is not, it becomes more manageable. You can do some restructuring with these contracts. It might work out. You just might have a little dead money, but you're still paying $20 million for a guy to not play for you next year. So if we're under the assumption that A.J. Brown doesn't want to be a Philadelphia Eagle in 2026, sure, and I can't really speculate on that. And all of us have tried for months, and none of us can. But the ideal situation here is that he just remains a Philadelphia Eagle in 2026. And then after that, I don't think the picks necessarily this year or next year are a big deal because this team is not in a situation where they're going to be playing rookies. This is a team that doesn't really have many massive holes that are going to need to be filled by high pick contributors over the next couple years, right? You're bringing in veterans probably if you're going to look for an upgrade at the positions that they need an upgrade at. You think about edge rusher and their rotation, right? That's going to be a high level guy. You think about the safety room. You're not going to start 2 rookie safeties. I highly doubt it. You're probably looking to bring in a veteran name into that room. Wide receiver 3, they just bring in Hollywood Brown. Cornerback, you bring in Reek Woolen. Like, that's where this team is investing right now, not in rookies. So I don't think it matters if the picks are this year, next year, but I want a first and a second. That's for sure.
First and see, yeah, I am in complete agreement. I don't. If it's like a first or a fourth, I'm sorry. I don't know. I hate that. I don't think for a guy that came in, balled out, got 2 touchdowns in both of his Super Bowls. Apparently, I was in a call the other day on the main show, and our host didn't know that he had a touchdown in both Super Bowls.
Yeah.
Now granted, he had a much better game in one than the other, I feel like. But the dude, when he's on and when he's got his head on straight, he's a baller.
Yeah.
Speaking of guys that are not ballers, Jake Elliott. The Eagles recently reworked his contract, trimming his base pay from $6 million to $5 million, but guaranteeing all of it. His cap number for 2026 was lowered, though, by a grand total of $240,000. Here's my thing on Jake Elliott. I like that they lowered it, but I'm not a fan that they are not at least exploring trying out a new kicker. We've seen with kickers, there is this thing where once they get old and start to show a little bit of a decline, they fall off a cliff. And Dennis comes in with a great point and great nickname, by the way. Because
Dennis, I like my baby hair. Leave my baby hair alone.
Okay,
I just saw that.
Dennis. Meet me out back. No, I'm kidding. No, don't come for my boy Adam like that. About Jake Elliott, I'm not a fan that they are not at least exploring trying in a new kicker, because once you have a bad year as a kicker, you're getting older. How old is Jake Elliott? Oh, can you look that up for a sec?
In his 30s.
30s. Yeah. So, at his age, 31. Okay. Yeah. So in your 30s, you had a down year. Now, granted, you didn't have the offensive line for it, but I'm kind of ticked off that they aren't at least considering a new kicker, because Jake Elliott, we can talk about the offensive line all day. We can talk about Kevin Padulo all day. But Jake Elliott, I've said it once and I'll say it again. I think I would have a better performance this season as kicker than Jake Elliott. And, well, My nickname in the 302 Mafia is literally Wheels. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. What do you think about Jake Elliott having pretty much a guaranteed roster spot on the Eagles going into the year?
Yeah, I mean, contractually, it was always going to be very hard to separate, and I actually think the dead cap hit is lowered. If I'm correct, the dead cap hit next year is lowered by guaranteeing all the money and essentially fronting it in cash right now. So this is fine. I mean, he was never not going to be the Philadelphia Eagles kicker in 2026. There's will probably, the moment he misses a kick, be speculation about him being moved. And I'm in complete agreement. He's had a really horrible past couple of years. But it really seems like it's going to be very hard for the Eagles to find themselves able to separate from him. And I'm at least happy that a year from now, it'll cost them less money to do so, supposedly.
Yeah. And yes, I will address this. Yeah, I'm totally cool with the nickname. Dalton did not come up with it. Our boy Chaos Chris did at a Sixers game, the Cavs game that, we blew a couple point lead in that fourth quarter. I forget when it was, but, he came up with it, and it's kind of stuck internally. I think this is the first time that I brought up that nickname live on air. But, hey, listen, if somebody... I will be more impressed than anything if some random stranger, we're up, at an Eagles game, and somebody goes, "Yo, Wheels, what's up?" or something along those lines. I will be.
I think Zach Wheeler's behind you.
Well, oh my God! You know what? Listen, I forgot about that. If that's, what? Honestly, forget everything. I am honored for that nickname because Zach Wheeler is a goat. You know what I'm saying? But I the nickname doesn't bother me, so whatever. We'll move on. Let's see here. We talked about Hollywood Brown. We talked about Jake Elliott. We talked about Damian Pierce. Let me see here. There was one more. The tight end that the Eagles got today. I think I think again, death move, but Stone Smart was signed today by the Philadelphia Eagle.
Yeah.
By the Philadelphia Eagles. I did see there was a highlight that Eagles by Ben posted on Instagram, putting up a massive block on somebody on the Giants that was just it looked pretty. So maybe that's your new Greg Calcaterra. Grant Calcaterra. There we go.
Yeah.
There we go. Jesus. Maybe that's your new backup tight end. What do you think of that move?
You're just bringing in camp names, right? That's all it is. I'm happy. I'm very happy that they went out and signed Johnny Munt. I don't know if we talked about that yet, but adding a true blocking tight end is going to be essential to this Philadelphia Eagles team in 2026. I promise you, with all the Kyle Shanahan stuff and all the 13 personnel stuff. So I think that is the big move. That is your Grant Calcaterra. And I expect to see a lot of both him and Dallas Goedert on the field at the same time next year.
Oh my God, Dallas Goedert! I don't think we didn't talk about him last week. I think, right?
I don't think we did. No.
My days are so mixed up. Yeah, so the Eagles brought back Dallas Goedert, and they brought him back then with paying him, I guess, less money than people anticipated. Some people, anticipated him getting something like $10 million, and I think he got something like $7 million.
Yeah.
Honestly, Adam, I don't think you said that he would come back, and now he is. I like that. I've said for a while that he is or was the most touchdown he brought in touchdowns whenever you seemed to need it. Even over the likes of a guy like Devontae Smith. I loved him all year long. The problem is he can't block. But now that you have a guy that can block, I don't know, man, how he might be cooking.
Yeah, I mean, I think what we projected the market to be was based on who Dallas Goedert has been in the past, right? He 2-3 years ago maybe projected as one of the top 12 or 15 tight ends in the league, was a pretty solid route runner, had good hands, could create some explosives, and we kind of were looking for that. Last year was by far the worst season of his career. He was one of the worst tight ends in football, and I think the market ended up looking like that for him. So I think I was a little surprised that they didn't split the difference, right? That he didn't end up getting like a $12 million a year deal somewhere. But it's it's a sign of what the tight end market looked like. There were guys like Kyle Pitts out there. David Njoku is still sitting out there. And that's another guy who really struggled last year as well, but has been talented in the past. So I think a lot of teams just looking to invest through the draft in that market, not necessarily looking to buy Goddard. But I think it's fine from an Eagles perspective. Again, it's not a player who I'm very high on. I would expect the Eagles and hope the Eagles still look to draft a tight end to replace him or even play over him next year. But it's a fine option, and I think he'll probably end up contributing in a similar way to how he did a year ago. But hopefully the presence of a guy like Johnny Munt will definitely help alleviate some of those blocking concerns. That is for sure.
Now, let's get into the draft a little bit. I know it's still a little early. It's not for a long time. But they are meeting with a lot of defensive players that I've seen. But I feel like the position that you have to get is offensive line. And they met with or they will the Eagles will host Penn State guard
Vega Ione.
Yeah, there you go. That's a tough name to say. But I mean, listen, I'm a Penn State guy through and through, and I thought their offensive line played solid. Considering the circumstances. I know, you lost your franchise quarterback halfway in, and after that your season kind of went to crap. But I've always liked the offensive depth that they've had at the trenches. James Franklin, you can talk about James Franklin all day, but the one thing that I feel like he had going for him was that, at least in the offensive line position, he really kept those guys disciplined and in tip-top shape. And the Eagles have taken a running back from Penn State in Saquon, but they haven't really dipped in the offensive line from the Big Ten, as to my knowledge, as far as I know. Now, that's partially because I feel like they've been really good, and a lot of the best players, I don't want to show my Big Ten bias, but a lot of the best players come out of the Big Ten. Listen, it worked with Saquon, although, yeah, he was brought in by the Giants. So I guess that doesn't really count. But there's always a first,
Yeah. No, I just started Draft Evals, and it's probably going to take me another month, but Vega Ione is a great player, very stout run blocker, pretty good in pass pro as well. Lateral movement is fantastic. He projects to be a really good guard at the next level, and I highly doubt he will make it to where the Philadelphia Eagles are picking because of that. But if he did make it, I would be thrilled to have him be a Philadelphia Eagle, and I'm not surprised in the slightest they're hosting him.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to the Philadelphia Phillies because we are sort of running out of time here. The season preview. I don't know how we haven't talked about the Phillies in weeks. It's been yelling about Daryl Morey, and we'll still get into that. And talking about the Eagles. This season is a week away, Adam. It felt like this offseason was like super quick.
It did.
But, spring training is almost over, and I'll start here. I was talking to you a few weeks ago, and I said, if the young guys show out in spring training, I will be a lot higher up on the Phillies than I was a few weeks ago. And honestly, they've looked pretty good. Andrew Painter, he has had a pretty good spring training. His fastball shape, the look of it from the again, I don't want to crap on the analytic nerds, but they've said it looks bad.
You crap on me all the time, Jesse. It's all right.
No, man. I'm not trying to do that. But they've said that the people say that the later it goes on, the worse it looks. The velo does drop. It has dropped in some days, from let's say 97 to 94. Not a huge difference in my book, but he's still a secondary stuff. His changeup, his curveball, they're all looking good. And he's coming with great results. He's coming in, finishing up the spring training with a 2.3 ERA last I checked. And honestly, I like that because you are missing Zach Wheeler to start the year. You lost Ranger Suarez and Taijuan Walker. I don't know if I trust him, to be completely honest with you. He had a pretty solid year last year, but the dude gives me PTSD from years past, because of how bad he ended up being, So I was talking about it with Friday today. We had a Phillies Phillies season preview show a little earlier on this afternoon. I'll introduce you guys. You have to. At some point you got to meet the guys. They're great dudes. But yeah, we were talking about Painter and how important he is to this team. If he has a successful year, this starting pitching, it's a question mark. And, if he shows up and even gives you an ERA in the mid threes, I feel like that's, that is, I'm fine with that. You've got him. You've got Justin Crawford, who initially, he's kind of cooled off, to end out the spring training period. But he's everything you want in a 9-hole hitter. He splits the gap off center for doubles. He's got speed. He is the perfect guy to transition from the 9-hole to a Trey Turner type of player. And then after him, you're thinking Schwarber, maybe Harper in that third spot. So, I don't know. These young kids, they're looking good. And the Phillies season, it's not dead on arrival, Adam.
Yeah, it certainly doesn't seem that way, Jess. And, I can't say I've been grinding the spring training film as you have been, so you can revoke my analytics nerd status for this one. But I have been watching the World Baseball Classic, and it's been very fun, and it was very cool to see Bryce Harper kind of get back into shape on Wednesday night, even though that wasn't exactly the result we wanted. And Kyle Schwarber played very well in the games that I watched, so it's good to see him, on track, and just the kind of things that make you optimistic. Jose Alvarado looked better than Jose Alvarado looked the last time I saw him, which was quite bad. So these are all optimistic signs, and I think it would be hard for me to change my stance on the Phillies from what it was a couple of weeks ago, which is that this team is significantly less exciting than I've been in the past, just because of being cycled through years of false hope, as I kind of have been. But I mean, seeing this kind of stuff certainly makes me excited, and I'm excited for a week from now. It's hard to believe.
Well, let's talk about Bryce Harper for a second, because I really am kind of pissed off with the narrative that Unk is washed. He didn't have the best start, but Bryce Harper, when it matters the most, that guy has the best hitting approach, I feel like, among this generation of hitters. We can talk about last year all we want against the Dodgers. But you go back to 2024. He hits a back-to-back home run in tandem with Nick Castellanos to force a game 4 or 5. Go back to New York. You go back to 2023. Orlando Arcia starts to talk some shit and then stares him down. Next game, hits 2 goddamn home runs. 2022, backs against the wall. Padres trying to sneak in there and get back in the series to go to the World Series. Hits a fastball to left center, the swing of his life, and the Phillies go on to play the Houston Astros in the World Series. The guy, and I mean, walk-off grand slam against the Cubs. The Angels game in the regular season, where Bryson Stott eventually, hits the walk-off home run from a few years ago. The dude is just so freaking clutch. And I feel like he may have a slump or two. But come playoff time, Bryce Harper is not one of my concerns.
Yeah, I think I'm in agreement with you. There are so many other concerns to build on top of. Yes, Bryce Harper had a very bad postseason last year, but I'm pretty sure 2 years ago that's the Mets series, right? Where him and Castellanos were pretty much the only people who showed up. So I think we're only a year removed from that. It's a down season, but I have hope that he'll be on the upswing, and I'm looking for other contributors to step up, including the other MVP candidate-esque person who certainly showed up in the World Baseball Classic. So excited to see what Kyle Schwarber does in the postseason. Hopefully it's something this time. So
yeah, we will see about that. Let's talk some Sixer. Or well, actually, you know what? Let's hit let's hit I don't want to say breaking news, but this was news that just came across my wire. It's the Harry the K thing.
Okay.
Yes. Harry the K's, after 22 seasons at Citizens Bank Park, is getting replaced by basically a corporate sponsor. And I'll get the name in a second, but I hate every second of this. Harry the K's is such an icon at Citizens Bank Park. I've been there plenty of times, and the fact that is getting replaced, it's a joke. It is a joke. I hate selling out to corporate sponsors, and this is exactly what it is: selling out to Ghost Energy, which I'm assuming it's a Ghost it's an energy drink. Yeah. I don't care how good it is. The fact that you are defaming Harry Callis, that is so awful to me. It's beyond words.
I am in complete agreement. However, I will say, in the same press release, they announced the Ranger Suarez chicken sliders are coming to Citizens Bank Park. You might catch Adam Den with some Ranger Suarez chicken sliders this summer.
Hang on. I have
not Ranger Suarez. I'm sorry.
Ranger Suarez.
Yeah, I think they're Luzardo. I think they're Jesus Luzardo sliders.
Jesus Luzardo sliders.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like that. There were some other things.
There are a couple things. I will say the peak acquisition was the quesadilla last summer.
That I never got to have it.
What was it? The s'mores quesadilla.
I never got to have it.
That was pretty elite.
It's so sad.
And the I did, and the jumbo mozzarella sticks. Those are two acquisitions over the past couple years that have been pretty elite at the bank. I'm a big fan of the burnt ends cheesesteak. That is a you got to know where to go. That's what I'm saying. You got to know where to go.
Yeah. Yes, you've got the some new additions. The Schwarbaum Sundae.
What's in that?
It's looks like a donut with frosted flakes and vanilla ice cream and like a strawberry drizzle type thing.
Okay,
that looks really good.
I can deal with that.
Bull's Barbecue.
It's better than the Wawa equivalent.
Oh yeah. Bull's Barbecue sampler platter, which is
does that have burnt end cheesesteak in it though?
It has some sort of meat in it.
Okay.
It's looks like it has like potatoes too. Not exactly ballpark food, but
it doesn't need to be ballpark food when it comes to Bull's Barbecue.
Fair enough.
The best $40 you can spend at a ballpark.
Really? Now that is the. You've had some pretty hot takes, Adam. That is the hottest take I think the show's ever had. But there you go. Also, the Hatfield foot-long dog, not the dollar dog, which is, you want to talk about an absolute abomination to society. I get it's $1, but it's so bad. I caught one once. Don't ask me how. Still don't know how I did it to this day. I know it's $1, but it's awful. It's awful.
Wait till the end of the game. Go to the one by the front gate, and they give them out for free, depending on the game you're at.
Oh my God! See, you know where to go. You know where to go. Do you know that? I mean, I don't know if you do this, but do you ever do the where the media entrance is and the buses waiting for? I
got stuck in that though once. We got stuck behind the Blue Jays bus on the way trying to get out of the stadium one time because the parking was so bad. It's quite the stadium over at Citizens Bank Park.
You've got that, and then the ball hawks waiting for autographs. So I haven't had much success there outside of, I think, Kyle Gibson. That's it.
Cubs legend.
Cubs legend.
Not a Phillies legend, but definitely a Cubs legend.
No, Phillies legend. He was
Kyle
on
Gibson?
the Phillies. Kyle Gibson. Pitcher Kyle Gibson. He was.
No, I know he pitched for the Phillies. I just I don't have fond memories of Kyle Gibson.
Fair enough. But I will say, good dude. Good dude.
Okay.
But
good.
That's my word. I think I still have a picture of it. But yeah. So not much success there. Don't know why I've still done it to these to this day. I'll probably stop this year. But regardless, we're talking about this is where 95% of my conversations with you go food.
Yep, all over the place.
It's ridiculous.
That's how it happens.
Exactly. We're running a little late, so let's talk some Sixers real quick. And round this thing out because I don't know. This may be just a WIP thing, and I've there are people on that station that I respect. The callers are just they're the callers. But there's been all this talk that, oh my God, that was an awful move with Jared McCain. And it was, but at the same time, I don't think that you can predict that your entire starting lineup is getting taken out essentially because of injury. And that's been a problem for the Sixers. Well, I feel like you can, in a way, because the injury bug has been a problem for the Sixers for years. And I mean, I don't think that the McCain thing has anything to. I don't think there's any. I don't think there should be any correlation with Jared McCain and the current state of the Sixers.
I mean, yes, but no. There is certainly a correlation between Jared McCain and the Sixers' lack of guard depth, which has been a serious problem with a team bereft of Tyrese Maxey and the amount of load that's put on VJ Edgecombe. But at the same time, like you said, it would have been impossible for Jared McCain to succeed in this specific situation, given the talent that the Sixers have surrounding him across their roster. So I think I'm fine with my dog.
I've ever met your dog.
No.
I'm no dog fine. Cameo tonight.
Yeah,
nah.
He left. He's scared of me.
Oh boy.
I'm fine with the idea that this is something that could have impacted the Sixers as far as their playoff chances, simply because of even when Maxey and Edgecombe and everybody is healthy, the backup guard situation in the postseason is still looking like campaign minutes, is still looking like a lot of focus on Kelly Oubre for a team that signed him to a very small deal purposefully to not be less reliant on him as a rotation piece this season. So that's definitely a concern, but this team's fate was sealed, and I told you this at the deadline, right? It's going to rely on the health of Joel Embiid, and that has come how it has. So I'm, projecting a play-in loss, and I think, that's where we're headed.
That's honestly, it's kind of better than even I kind of see how this team goes at some point, just because of the fact that the East it's still strong, even with Cade Cunningham getting. Is he out just tonight, or is it a lengthy?
It's probably going to be around 3 weeks, 3 to 4 weeks. The last time a player had a collapsed lung, it was CJ McCollum, and he missed 12 games. So it'll probably be around that length.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's not fun. Not being able to breathe doesn't sound fun.
No, it does not.
But that being said, that's gonna wrap things up here on the Philly Sports Pulse here on 302 Birds. Shout out Nick's Pizza, Tick Pick, El Diablos. Great sponsors, great friends of the network. And
shout out our ability to breathe.
Shout out our ability to breathe as well.
It's a highlight tonight.
Exactly. I swear to it's the porta potty used last week, and it's
Shout out women.
Oh my God. I haven't seen our friend since then, but the next time I see her, I don't think she's ever gonna let me live that down. But
No.
that's Jesse lore that very few will be able to know. That being said, that's gonna wrap up today's show. Appreciate you all for watching. Go Phils, and God bless Go Phils. I forget our motto. God bless Go Phils and Go Birds. Jeez.